Welcome to Perpetual Motion, where we explore the dynamic intersections of mindset, motivation, and mastery. I'm your host, Dr. Mo Anderson. Today, I'm joined by Jodi Bondi-Norgard, entrepreneur, author, and the visionary. And I'm not just throwing that word out there, y'all. She's a badass. The visionary behind the Go Go Sports Girls dolls. Jodi's mission is to challenge gender norms in the toy industry, and she has sparked important conversations about representation, empowerment, and the role of women in sports. Join us as we discuss her incredible journey and best-selling book, More Than a Doll: How Creating a Sports Doll Turned into a Fight to End Gender Stereotypes. I'm excited. Welcome, Jodi.
Welcome, Dr. Mo. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You're a superstar. I mean,
Well,
you
well, I have to say, like when you said badass, that is the biggest compliment. Thank you.
and well deserved. It's not one I use in all my intros. So, but I mean, gosh, looking at your website, talking to you in the pre-call, all the programs you've been on, Forbes, HuffPost. Yeah, she's been in every bit of major media, and she should be for what she's doing. Especially if you've got daughters who play sports, wives you're supporting in their efforts to move forward in their sports career. You got to stay tuned. This lady's got some interesting stuff to share with you, and she's going to share with us also how we can join her journey and promote gender equity in sports. So, Jodi, when we spoke in the pre-call, you shared that this movement started when your daughter was playing soccer. I believe I got that right. Tell us about your motivation, that initial motivation to create a positive image product.
Well, it was, there were many situations that that preceded my aha moment.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people will understand, and you understand, I know that you see things within your life and you just push it aside because you don't know how to change things, you don't know how to make a difference. You look
Right.
at something, you're like, gosh, that just looks so wrong, or that's just not right. But I don't know what I'm going to do to make a difference. So I'm just going to, like I said, push it aside. But when my daughter, like you said, she was 9 years old playing soccer, and she'd just gotten done playing soccer, and we're running into the toy store because we're having like this panicky parent moment, at least I am, because she needed a wrap birthday gift for a party she was attending in 30 minutes. So we're running into
I
the
get
toy store, right? Like every parent has been in those panicky.
always on the way to the wedding or the birthday party is when we get
Honestly,
together.
it's like, on the way to a wedding, the kid needs a new pair of shoes. You're like, ah.
Right, right. I've been
So,
that girl.
right. So we're having this moment, and I'm running into our toy store when my daughter Grace is running behind me, and we're frantically going up and down these aisles when a line of dolls just stopped me in my tracks. They had on short skirts, crop top, belly button ring, big hair, lots of makeup. I look at my normal looking kid in her soccer uniform with crazy messy pigtails and rosy face. And I look at these dolls. I pick up one of the dolls, and I bought it because I was so outraged. And the name on the hang tag is Lovely Lola. So this is the doll that was marketed to little girls.
Oh my.
Seriously.
Oh my.
I
And
mean,
that's seriously a stripper name too. So
oh,
that's crazy.
and she had friends in the line. I started picking up the other dolls in the line that looked similar to this. There
Uh-huh.
was Cute Candy and Sizzle and Sue and
Mm,
Dazzle and Destiny. I'm like, what in the world are we marketing to girls?
right.
So I seriously had a meltdown in the toy store, saying, looking at the salespeople saying you should not be marketing sex to girls, and they're like, "We're lady, I don't know, we're 16," and I'm running out the door, and I'm telling Grace, I'm like, I need to show this to Dad. And so I did. I brought it home, and I said to my husband, I said, listen, I am so sick and tired of these negative images that are marketed to girls. And I think I can do something about it. I think I can create a positive image product for girls that encourages them to be healthy physically, mentally, and emotionally through sports and physical activity. So it was just one of those, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And I should say, Mo, that I have always been involved in sports somehow. I've never been great at anything. I've always been pretty good at stuff, but I found it, especially when my kids were little, I found, when I would run or go for a bike ride or, play tennis or whatever it would be, it wasn't only, I didn't just see the effects physically, it was
Hmm.
mentally too. It became my meditation. I just saw the benefits
Hmm.
of how it cleared my head and how I just felt better after running, even, just going for a 3 mile run.
Sure.
I just felt better.
Wait, you
And
just said
so,
just a 3 mile run. That's that's almost a 5K. So I'm impressed with that even.
or even if it's just walking, it's just getting outside, it's just
I
moving your
understand.
body. And I just saw the benefits of it. And that's
Hmm.
when we started to see that, that was back, gosh, it was back in 2006 when I had this aha moment. So it was
Hmm.
quite a ways, a long time ago. But that's when we started to see this sedentary movement happening with our kids. We started to see more video games, and we started to see, the obesity rates rising. And it's just like, get these kids outside, right? What
Right.
happened to the kids that are just playing outside? Go play with chalk, go jump rope, go do something,
Hmm.
go play tag, make up a game. But we started to see more kids inside and more kids on tablets and TV and things like that. So I saw that
Understood.
importance as well.
Hey, and right there, it reinforces that one person can make a difference. And one person with a great idea, and if you build it, they will come. But in the process,
Mm.
I know there's a lot of no's and naysayers, and we don't need this. So, Jodi, you've spoken also about how initial rejections to your ideas fueled your determination. Please share
Hmm.
how hearing no became a catalyst for creating the Go Go Sports Girls line.
Yeah, that's a really, really good and important question. Because it took 2 years from rough draft to the actual debut of the first doll, which was Tennis Girl at the U.S. Open. So my first sale, Mo, was at the U.S. Open in New York, right?
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I thought, I've got the next best thing, right? They ordered the United States Tennis Association. I just called them out of the blue,
Hmm.
and they said, "Yeah, I love what you're doing. We'll take 500." And those 500 sold out in 6 days.
Wow.
So, as a small business owner, I'm thinking, I'm really onto something,
Hmm.
right? I am really
Definitely.
onto something. And I had done my homework before. I did a lot of research. I knew nothing about the toy industry. But I did find that there were 75 lines of fashion dolls out there and nothing else, right? There were baby dolls and rag dolls. I'll point that out. And
Interesting.
75 lines of fashion dolls. That's
Wow.
it. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing. So my next goal, and that was in 2008. So in August of 2008, the first doll launched at US Open. Moving forward, I go to my next goal was to launch the line of 9 dolls at the New York Toy Fair. And that's at the Javits Center. And it's the biggest toy fair in the world where everybody comes in to say, what's the next best thing? And I'm like,
Hmm.
it's me. I was borderline cocky, if not cocky. I'm like, that is me. I've got the next best thing. And not so much. And that's when I started to hear the comments of, I love your product. My daughter plays soccer. She would love Soccer Girl. And I'd say, how many would you like to buy? And I'd always get the hand. No, 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 we're not going to buy it. I'd say, why? And they say, because ultimately, girls like fashion. Can you create a fashion doll? I'm like, that's my point. As a mother of a daughter and as a woman, I'm positive girls like more than fashion. And if
Right.
you are only giving them 75 lines of fashion dolls to choose
Hmm.
from, of course you're going to come to that conclusion that they only like fashion because that's all you're offering them to buy.
Right.
So I said no. I also realized, Mo, at that time that mainstream ideas never create change, and I was creating change.
Mm.
And I realized that I was in the social change business, not the toy industry. Otherwise, I would
Right.
have conformed to what the toy buyers wanted and created a
Right.
fashion doll. But I didn't.
Hmm.
I said no. And I just knew girls and women deserve more. And so I hung in there. I hung in there for 5 long years. I never took a salary. Anything I made, I put right back into the business.
Hmm.
And I had enough, a lot of smaller toy stores were very supportive of me, and my product did very well online, right, on Amazon, on my website. I had a store built, and
Hmm.
so toysrus.com, all the dot coms, target.com, it did well. but I couldn't get a buyer to create or a big purchase order for me. It was
Hmm.
always the fashion was always in their excuse. And you know what, Mo, I don't want to discount fashion at all. I love my fashion. I love when people express themselves. I love
Right.
designers. They're so creative and they're artists. But does it define every woman? Does it define every
Hmm.
person? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I hung in there for 5 long years. And like you said, what kept me going was the media, all the awards I won. There was just this disconnect
Right.
that I was getting all this positive,
Mm.
write-ups. I was on the Today Show. Like the Today Show doesn't do a feature on just anybody.
They
I
absolutely
mean,
do not. Right.
yeah, and so I just thought there's something wrong here.
Right.
And so that's why I persevered. I was persistent. I just knew I was right. I don't think I'm right about everything at all. I'm
Right.
not
But
stubborn
when
at
when you
all.
know, you know. I've had those moments. I've launched some initiatives, and I'm just not making it about me, but I'm relating to what you said. When you know you're doing the right thing, even if you're not hearing it externally, internally, there's something that just keeps driving you, keeps making you think about it, keeps making you move beyond no. And it's just sad to me that even though you had all that success and media attention, that gatekeepers at the industry were not initially swayed by that, and that happens to so many people, and often it's, I don't know in this case if it was males, but I've found that a lot of times when you're pushing things for daughters and for women, you have these male gatekeepers telling us what we don't want. That's just bizarre to
Mm.
me. So are you married? Was your husband supportive during this?
Yes, yes, yes. My husband was super supportive. I mean, really very supportive. But we did have a lot of heart to hearts. We
Hmm.
did have a lot of heart to hearts because, we were self-funding the business. We had 3 small kids, and we're both working our butts off. And he's like, "Yeah, you're not making any money." I'm like, "Yeah, that's a problem." So, obviously he understood my passion. He understood the inequalities out there that women face, and more, he recognizes it and realizes it, throughout our marriage, just being married to me because I pointed out. I mean, he has to listen to me all the time,
Right.
and it's tough. I mean, it's I guess with what I have learned with my dolls and the books,
Hmm.
and with my new book, More Than a Doll, is that I'm sounding the siren that gender inequality doesn't start in our teens or in our 20s. It starts the moment a child can hold a book, a toy, or
Yeah.
watch a
That part.
screen.
Yeah.
And those gender stereotypes, any stereotypes actually, set in by the age of 5.
Hmm.
So I am shouting that we need to start looking at the root of the problem.
Hmm.
And, we have so many, self-help classes for women. I mean, I've attended them. How do you fit in? How do you do it?
Right.
How do
Right.
you do it all? How can you buck up?
Hmm.
And my point is, and what I've realized is that we're not broken. Women and girls, we're not broken. It's our
No, ma'am.
system that's broken and our culture that needs to be fixed.
Hmm.
So I'm screaming from the mountaintops. I'm just saying this is a no-brainer to me.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard to ask for equality?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
And
Why
we'll
is it so
continue to
difficult?
scream that from the mountaintops. And the focus on my program, my focus areas are wellness, relationship, and communication. So I want to jump back to those conversations with your husband, because I speak with so many women and so many men who are trying to do something and go against the grain. And I mean, first of all, folks who are thinking about launching an enterprise, you need to understand it takes time. Those people you see on the Today Show didn't just start this last week, but also that your whole family is involved, whether they're helping you with the product or not, the time, the money, the investment, uh, that you have to put into becoming successful like you have. So I'm curious if you don't mind sharing a little bit how you approach those conversations, because I mean people have literally gotten divorced over something like this because
Mm-hmm.
one is so passionate about what they're doing, whether it's an invention or a product or providing a service, and the other is kind of like, yeah, but we have bills, we have children, I need attention. Can you share a little bit? I know you're not a relationship expert, but then again you are, because here you are and you're still married. So
Right, 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 right. I know. We, like I said, we did have a lot of conversations about this, and he understood like how I was right about this. There were times where he said, maybe your product is ahead of its time, which he was 100% right about that. He was 100%. He said, maybe our culture isn't ready for something like this. And as much as I didn't want it to be true, I knew there was some truth in it, and which just broke my heart, which just made me sad. But I just couldn't give up. I couldn't, let it die. There were many times where I thought it would die, but something always came up. Like, one time where we had a heart to heart, and it was time to throw in the towel. And seriously, he left for work, and I was just so distraught. And that's when I got a call from the Today Show. I'm like, oh my God, I'm alive. Like, I'm not giving up now. There were certain things that, another time when I told him, this is the last time I'm going to Toy Fair, and if nothing happens, I will throw in the towel. I definitely will this time. And I had a crazy opportunity to pitch to 3 Walmart buyers. And they said, after the 5 minutes, they said, this is a winner. If you can package 6 books to go along with 6 of the dolls, we will put them in Walmart stores.
wow. And
So
I
there
got to
were
give Walmart credit. People are always going after Walmart because of various practices, but they are visionary when it comes to what is trending and what's next, in
I
my
am telling
opinion.
you, I loved working with the people in their headquarters in Bentonville. They were fabulous, and they even said to me, "We're not making a dime off of your product, but little girls need to see this on shelves, toy store shelves." And I was like,
Absolutely.
"That's thank you, right? Thank you for giving me that opportunity."
And when you kick that Sam's Walmart door in, that also leads to other opportunities. So
Which it
I'm
did,
so
yeah.
happy for that. And thank you for sharing that personal aspect, because I know how I've struggled, and people just look and make assumptions about how you got to where you are. And so I like to share and have my guests share that, look, these journeys can be difficult. They're going to be challenges personally, physically, professionally, but persevere. If you're
Hmm.
convinced what you're doing is right, persevere, and I'm so glad you did. So you mentioned Walmart, and my next question was about from concept to Walmart shelves. Launching a new product is really challenging. I'm curious. We've talked about this particular product in your books, but do you have a background in business or marketing? Did you bring people in to assist you with this?
I had to figure everything out. My degree from college was in psychology, and then I was in business, and then I started my first business, Mo, when I was about 27 years old. I started a gift basket business because I just it was a long story, but I just saw a need for making good gift baskets. This is like before the Google machine and everything. And so, being in Chicago, I worked with women throughout the area that would bake homemade goods for me. Okay. So they would deliver them. I had freezers. I rented this big space. And I just, Oprah, Harpo Studios was in Chicago at the time.
Hmm.
And that was the time you could pick up a phone and just get a hold of somebody. And I
The
called
good
their
old days.
yeah, right. Yeah, so I got an appointment with their HR department, and I presented to 20 people. I brought this giant basket with all this amazing goods that these women made for me,
Hmm.
and Oprah became my biggest client.
Wow.
And yeah, so I ended up, I know, so I never met her, but I signed her name a lot. And it was just one of those things where I just realized the importance of the ask, right?
Hmm.
And go big with your ask. And
Right.
what do I have to lose? I thought, they'll say no. And so that gave me confidence when I was about to, call the United States Tennis Association. I had some fear. I'm like, what if they say no? And I'm like, what if they
Hmm.
say no? Who cares, right?
Right.
And so
My
just
life is the same. If they say no, my life is the same.
exactly. So what? I
Right.
hang up the phone. I move on. I find the
Hmm.
next one.
Hmm.
But I do feel like that was a very good lesson for me of the power of the ask.
Hmm.
So I ended up selling that business when I was pregnant with my third child, and I just thought it it gave me such good foundation owning that business,
Yeah. Yeah.
selling that business, and then moving on to my next business. So it
Absolutely.
was, and I just enjoy, I've always worked with lots of women.
Hmm.
And I've always had such great success with working with lots of women. And don't get me wrong, I work with a lot of great men too.
Understood.
But the just supporting women and finding that common ground and trust, really worked well for me.
And we know every no gets you closer to yes. So I just
Right.
really want to encourage
It just
someone
takes
right
one
now.
yes. It just takes one yes. And that's
One
what that
yes,
Walmart
and
was. It was
you
just
get
that
those
one yes.
no's out of the way. That's just a business lesson. People are going to say no. You say no, but you just keep
Exactly.
going. Yeah, to get to your yes. So
But rejection
beautiful.
is hard, especially when you feel
Yeah.
that I have a really good product. It's really amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
why do I keep hearing no? It doesn't make sense.
Hmm.
The rejection with the Go-Go Sports Girls before Walmart was off the charts. And I have to say, when I had the meeting with Walmart, there were so many people in the toy industry that said, do not do this. Do not go with Walmart because they will chew you up and spit you out. I'm like, why wouldn't
Yeah.
I move forward? I'm like, that's crazy business. Of course I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
It
Always
was
going to be
just
the
an
naysayers.
opportunity to that. What, see, that's the thing that I don't understand a lot of times.
Hmm.
It's like moving forward can be hard sometimes. Those yes, like it's the unknown. I'm not going to be able. How am I going to figure this one out? Right? You always do. You figure it out. And if it isn't working out, then you again move on. But
Right.
I wasn't going to let that opportunity pass me by at all.
Good for you. Good for you. And here we are. Here we are. What you've talked about the journey a bit of bringing the sports dolls to mainstream retailers, getting past the nose and the meetings and the courage it took to pitch it. But were there any obstacles you faced in terms of manufacturing? And I ask because I know there's so much has been sent offshore and overseas, and I don't really even know the process, who makes dolls, how that works. Was that challenging as well, finding someone to produce them?
Yeah, it was. I tried to have it produced in the United States, and it honestly the first person, it was a company, a factory in Chicago, and I
Hmm.
actually met with the owner, and I showed him my prototypes, and he laughed at me, and he's like, I apologize for laughing at you. He's like, but there's absolutely no way these can be made in the United States. If they were, you would have to sell this doll for 30, $40.
Mm.
A rag, a plush doll for
Hmm.
30 or $40. I'm like, well, that's not going to work too well. And so then I was recommended another company down in North Carolina. Same response. Same response. And so I ended up manufacturing the product in China and in
Mm-hmm.
Vietnam.
Okay.
And they did fabulous jobs. I mean, I enjoyed working with the people, my contacts over there, and they did a wonderful job. And I was able to be competitive with my price. So, can we make things here in the United States? Maybe some things, but not not at a price that people would pay for a doll.
Right, and that has to be addressed because as you know, there's this big movement to bring manufacturing back here, but at the same time, things have to be cost effective, and the economy and all of these
Hmm.
things influence our purchase decisions. And I mean, it's so many products are made overseas now. It just is just the way of things. Thank you for sharing that, though. That's interesting.
Hmm.
Let's back to the dolls, and now you've got major distribution, lots of media attention. I'm wondering what kind of feedback you're getting from parents or young girls about how your go-go sports girls dolls have influenced their self-image.
Well, it was really fun to receive letters. I mean, I would literally get emails from parents saying, "I love this
Oh, that's
product.
nice.
I wish this would have been around when I was a little girl."
Mm-hmm.
I'd get pictures of, from women who would have, say, for instance, swimmer girl Susie sitting on her desk, right? And saying, "I swam in high school. This doll makes me smile every single day."
Mm-hmm.
So I saw that it wasn't just being purchased for little girls, but also adult women
Mm-hmm.
were purchasing the doll because it just gave them some joy, right? Like I was a runner when I was, younger. I did get support from like Dara Torres and Carrie Tollefson. They are Olympians, and just reaching out saying, "This is amazing! Like this is great! I love swimmer girl. I love runner girl."
Oh,
So
nice.
I did the feedback I received was so positive and so heartwarming, and just
Mm-hmm.
what I really, that was my goal, right? Like this, I'm giving people joy through this doll, right? They're understanding the mission and the message of this doll,
Mm-hmm.
but yet, Mo, the buyers are my gatekeepers. I still couldn't break in.
Wow. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? But I'm so happy that you got that feedback, that reinforcement, because I know when people say something positive about something you worked hard on, sometimes just one little bit of affirmation just gives you the fuel. And they seem to always come. I don't know about you, but I seem to always get it just at a time when I really need somebody to say something nice or
Right.
positive. Yeah. Yeah, so good. I'm so happy. And it's amazing. It seems like when you go online that everybody's so negative and
Hmm.
judgmental and all of that, but there are still a lot of good, positive people out there who are happy to share with you how you've made a positive impact on their lives. And just this conversation, even and learning more about you, has positively impacted me. I've got two granddaughters now, and I'm going to get dolls for them, and one is playing sports. Aurora is playing soccer and stuff. So this means a lot to me as a grandmother. I have sons, but now that I'm getting used to girls and I'm seeing these, images out there that I don't want to share with them, they'll be exposed to, but not from me. What you're doing matters even more. Okay, you mentioned a couple of female sports figures, and I wanted this next question to be a little bit about women in sports today, because this is a hot topic, and I'm gonna do a disclaimer. This is a long question, but it's I think it's a good question. The WNBA and other women's sports leagues are gaining visibility, and I love it. Arenas filling up, people wearing their jerseys, and top female college athletes are now taking advantage of recent rule changes that allow them to monetize their personal brand. One young lady just got $1 million contract, long overdue, but thank God. But they're still, as you know, not near the level of their male counterparts in media coverage or sponsorships. How do you see your work aligning with the broader movement to promote equity for women's sports?
Well, when I launched the Go Go Sports School dolls, I do
Hmm.
believe that, many people, a lot of the toy industry buyers and professionals saw my product, saw my brand as that's the right thing to do for society, right? They
Mm-hmm.
saw it was the right thing to do for society. But now looking back, I realize we didn't have the data that said this is the right thing to do for a business's bottom line.
Mm.
So revenue based, right? We didn't have
Right.
anything like that. Now there are both. There, Deloitte, Wasserman, the
Mm-hmm.
Gist. I mean, there are so many different reports that are coming out that are saying investing in women's sports is off the charts. It is off the
Interesting.
charts.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's just gaining speed so
Mm-hmm.
quickly. And I think once right now, I find that it is going up like this. And once people get on board even more, it's just going to take off. I mean, I feel like I was in Chicago. I was Caitlin Clark, and the tickets for the WNBA game here, $1,300, fifteen
Same.
hundred dollars at the United
Same
Center.
here. Yeah.
I'm like,
Or
okay,
the
you go
wings.
teams. I'm not paying for that. I think I'm gonna watch that one on TV.
Right.
But if you can get that, dang, good for you, right?
Yeah.
Good for
Yeah.
you. So I'm just I do feel like it's gaining momentum. If anybody wants to continue to follow that to see how the momentum is increasing, download those reports, like I said, from Wasserman, Deloitte,
Mm-hmm.
McKinsey, and then follow the Gist and follow Caroline Fitzgerald. And
Mm-hmm.
Caroline Fitzgerald does a great podcast called the Business Case for Women's Sports,
Oh,
and I
okay.
mean it's really quite remarkable. And she's a young woman just pointing out. I mean, it's almost like a no-brainer. Like she's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, here's another thing that shows that women's sports is gaining momentum. But we need to see more brands
Mm-hmm.
invest in that. We need to see more media coverage. Even my 89-year-old dad, Mo, prefers to watch the WNBA versus the NBA.
I love it.
I
I
know he's
love
like
it.
he's such a big sports guy, and he said it's just better basketball. It's
Mm-hmm.
more to old school. It's not like all the bells and whistles that the NBA and whatever has
Yeah.
gotten into. But the WNBA, he's like it's amazing how athletic these young women are, and
I
he's like I just
I
love
love
watching
it.
them.
My youngest son, who's a great basketball player, was on the practice team for the WNBA team here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, the Wings. And so my first experience seeing professional women's sports was because of him. They didn't pay them, but they gave them tickets to the game. And of course, he got to play ball with beautiful professional women, so they didn't have to pay him. He was good with that. He loved it, but it was so exciting, and the game has changed a lot. I really enjoy women's sports, and even the attitudes, the
I
the
know.
physicality, and yeah, if you haven't tuned in, folks, it's time to do so. It is time to do so. Thank you for sharing that, Jodi. I love hearing about your dad. You shared some empowering insights and strategies today, and I really hate to go. I could talk to you on and on about this topic, so near and dear to my heart. I do want to emphasize, though, for those of you launching new products, you heard her talk about the data. You don't just go in with your pitch with emotion. Take the data, because these corporations are looking at their bottom line, whether they're socially conscious or not. At the end of the day, they have bills. So make sure you have data from reputable sources. I think is a lesson we don't want to overlook there. But again, I appreciate you, Jodi. Before we go, we've talked a little bit about your book, which is excellent. You've got another book coming out. I'm so happy for you. How can listeners connect with you online, order your products, get your books, whatever you want to share? You have the mic.
Okay. All right. So you mean LinkedIn? I write for Ms. Magazine. I am on Substack. Any of the social medias. Follow me. Order my book. More Than a Doll. More Than a Doll. And it is getting great reviews. So I'm happy about that. Put a lot of effort into it. So that is good. I do have to point out, Mo, that I know you can no longer buy the dolls online. You can buy the Go-Go Sports Girl books.
Okay, okay.
So just like all my ups and downs, I had a huge my business in 2000 after Walmart, after working with the Obama administration, I did sell my business. My business was acquired by a large toy company.
Okay.
A year after they acquired it and we were ready to go, with the design, with the marketing plan, it was all in place.
Mm-hmm.
This big toy company hired two new men. I had to repitch to them, and I was able to convince one of them that this was a good thing. The other one said no, because a true girl empowerment product had never been launched before, and they didn't want to be the first. So they returned the intellectual property to me, which was the best breakup ever. So, but
Absolutely. That's unusual too.
it is really unusual. So I really give them credit for returning it to me, but it was still unbelievably heartbreaking.
I
I
can
kept the books
imagine.
online. I couldn't manufacture again. Going back to the relationship, I think my husband would have been like, "Okay, now I'm out.
I'm done.
That's it. I'm done." Um, so I wasn't about to do that. It is very stressful to market in that or to manufacture. Okay, just so you know, they may hit toy store shelves again at some point
Woo!
in the
Got a
next
scoop. Got a
year.
scoop.
I know. So please follow me. Hopefully, I have some exciting news down the road. But they are currently not available, but the books are, and the books are
Okay.
unbelievably wonderful. I didn't write them.
Yes.
I work with an author. Her name is Kara Douglas Tom, and she's super talented. Support the books, support the Go-Go Sports Girl books. They're only on Amazon. And my book can be more than a doll can be bought anywhere, wherever you like to shop.
Absolutely. We'll drop all of those in the show notes. My mistake on the doll. You did share that with me before, but it just slipped my mind because I'm old. So,
No, that's okay. That's okay. You would assume that they would still be out there because they're such a great idea, but it was
terrific
just one
idea.
guy, and he's
A-
not
a-
even in the toy industry anymore.
As you were talking, I'm reminded of the female. I can't remember her name right now. And I've actually done a whole story on her, but who created Barbie and the
Oh yeah, Ruth
battle she
Handler,
had.
right?
Yeah, the battle she had with Mattel about some of the very same things that you went through. And, they're going to tell the creator, nobody wants to see Barbie Dr. Barbie or whatever. I'm just like, oh my goodness, what is wrong with you people? But
I know. Who is making these decisions? Stop it.
who is doing this? But ladies and gentlemen, let us persevere because our young ladies deserve these empowering role models, and we want to create more opportunities for them, which starts with people on the leading edge, like my new friend Jodi Bondi Norgard. Such courage. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, listeners, as well, for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, and share for more like this. Until next time, be well and be brave. Thank you.